So this was actually intended as a live stream, not a recording, but I had some technical difficulties with the live stream, so I was gonna do a tape recording and uploading. I really was gonna watch a live stream this late anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I'm gonna be doing it with very minimal editing. That's how I want this one to go. So it's been a few weeks since the last time I came on. Been swamped with some work that I had to do, and then on top of that, I actually had to travel out of town for a couple times. So hopefully from here on out, it'll be back to a more regular basis. I'm gonna kind of bounce back and forth with more editing and less editing, kind of see how things go, and just get a real feel for the channel. So my original intention with this video was to go more towards just talk about what's been going the last few weeks and kind of just some things I want to talk about, but naturally that all got flipped on its head with the events last night of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And I'm a little bit loath to talk about this, truth be told, for a number of reasons. Firstly, I'm really torn, honestly, about the whole purpose of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Obviously, I'm not target audience, so I get it, but while on the one hand, I've seen a lot of good, like Colbert back during the Bush years, and even the Obama dissing of Trump. I enjoy some of these clips that come, and it seems like it's simply a generally funny event to watch at times, and some of the comedians they've gone on are good. At the same time, it's just got, I also didn't like some of the kind of stuffy elitist feel of all these guys, in suits and tuxes, White House correspondents and whatnot, just getting in a room and basically, has a real Marie Antoinette, have your cake and eat it too type of thing, if you know what I mean. So I've been always very torn about this type of event, but ultimately, it's not really for me. I'm not the target, it's for them, and they want to have it, that's cool. And like I said, there are some times it's good. Unfortunately, I also think, some of the problems there are emblematic of what's considered acceptable and what's not. And case in point, which is really the real reason why I'm talking about it, normally I wouldn't really talk about it, is the furor that has kind of arisen from the appearance last night of Michelle Wolf, who's a comedian, writer for Daily Show, and also has worked, I believe, on Seth Meyers' show. So she had her bit, and she gave her her bit, and lit into everybody from Trump to Sarah Sanders, the press secretary, to the media, to even the Democrats, and all across. So it created a lot of tension, a lot of controversy with members of not only Trump administration, but the media and the White House correspondents being very triggered by the harshness of the roasting, by the vulgarity, by it. They were very taken aback. You might say, like I said, they were triggered. It's an interesting thing, and they're now demanding apologies and all of this, and Sarah Sanders and Sean Spicer of all people are freaking out, and you have these news people from CNN and Politico saying, oh my gosh, this is cruel, this is terrible, which by the tone you can tell where I'm going with this. So this whole thing just kind of irked me. So I went back and I first heard some clips and I thought, this doesn't sound that bad. And then I went back and saw the whole thing. And I gotta be totally honest, it's really not that vulgar. Yeah, it's a little bit of vulgarity, which, in comedy, that's what happens, part of the deal. And it's roasting, and you see that, That's common in this event. There's a lot of roasting. But it was pretty clear, very obvious that it wasn't the problem, it wasn't the roasting or the vulgarity. These are all excuses. The real thing that bothered him is that she said the truth. She spoke the truth from the beginning and said the uncomfortable truths to the end, including the last line, which I'll get to. So the whole thing is just like this fake outrage horse shit. It's just ridiculous. It's just these are the same people that like laugh when Bush is making jokes about lying about WMD. Did they demand an apology like Andrea Mitchell did just today? Demand an apology out of Michelle Wolf? Did Andrea Mitchell demand an apology out of Bush for lying and making jokes about lying about WMD? Maybe Bush should apologize to all those dead Iraqi children and U.S. servicemen. Even, and I'll throw conservatives a bone here, Obama joking about drones and droning places and even droning American citizens. Was an apology demanded there? No. So it seems a little odd that, in particular, they didn't like how the smoky eye comment. And I've actually posted a link to the whole thing so you can listen to it and maybe I'll have a different take than me. I know at least one person who has a complete 180 take on it than me. So that's fine. They said, oh, it was attacking appearance. How I heard it is not an attack on appearance, and this is what she also said in reply, is more of attacking the fact that you have a woman in Sarah Sanders who goes up every day and lies out of her teeth every day at the behest of her lying piece of shit boss, Trump. So, I mean, these guys lie about fucking crowd sizes. They lie about everything, all right? So, pardon me if I don't really care if you give them some shit, because they deserve it, truth be told. I mean, I was watching the Michigan rally and Trump said some Hispanics and this whole crowd booed. They booed Hispanics, so why? I mean, this is the nature. And then other people are saying, oh, it was cruel, it was mean-spirited, didn't advance journalism. Well, you guys are doing a pretty fucking bad job of journalism right now, truth be told. I mean, you let them bully you. I remember when Trump started, they were like forcing them to not even do it on camera. And you would think these guys would like stand up against that and say, hey, no, it's got to be on video. This is how we do it. No, they bent over. They bent over backwards, because they want to pretend to be neutral. They're really sensitive to the fact that Trump calls them out. So it just really bothered me. And particularly the charge of it being cruel. Like you're being cruel to these people. You know what these people have done. There are stories coming out about ICE, Immigration Customs Services, which is, despite one who tells you, was only created a few years back. I mean, there are other services that handle immigration. So just another, one that was made. And really is completely unnecessary, frankly. But they're like they picked up an American citizen, and for over 1,000 days they held him. They didn't look into it, they just picked him up. And they're doing this, they're tearing apart families. Let's not forget Joe Arpaio, who this president pardoned, what he did with those detention camps in Arizona. David Clark, who is one of Trump's biggest supporters. Sheriff of Milwaukee. I think he resigned, but don't hold me to that. But he might not have, not 100% sure. So the problem is people have died of thirst, in his jail. So talk about cruelty. This is a guy who sits down with Mohammed bin Salman, and of course you have to have diplomacy, but he's like sucking his dick. Pardon my terminology, but it's just what he's doing. And he's just sucking up to him. He's just saying all these things. And he's like, we're going to give you these beautiful weapons. And what does he do? Just what we saw a couple days ago. Again, the Saudis dropped the bomb on a wedding party in Yemen, killing women, children, including the bride-to-be. So don't lecture anybody about cruelty, okay? About cruel jokes. cruel jokes. What is that? It's horseshit. All right. And you know what? If a right winger wants to make cruel jokes, which they have about left wingers, and Lord knows the shit they said about Obama, who I have my problems with, but come on. They said some pretty ridiculous shit about him. And the jokes are fine. But now it's not. And it's because the White House press corps is afraid about losing their access. The thing about journalism nowadays used to be about finding the truth. Used to be about all that. And despite how the Times and the Post and CNN, they all do some good work still in this day. So I don't want to approach this out of like the right wing, it's all fake news, they're evil, this or that. I don't think that. I think most of them are just trying to do their job, honestly, but they're just, the culture of the newsroom has changed. It's all about getting access. It's about getting that exclusive. It's not about finding the truth, finding who's doing what's right, who's doing what's wrong. A lot of it has been really corporatized. It's fallen under a few giant corporations, and naturally, they're not going to want you to rock the boat too much. So when someone comes and rocks the boat and says some nasty things, I mean, I don't hear them telling Trump to be less vulgar, and frankly, I don't care. This is part of the reason Trump did well. All right, he did go low. He did say the vulgar stuff, and people ultimately don't care about that. This is like when Hillary Clinton ran that ad with like the kids watching the TV of Trump saying all these bad things. This is a worthless ad. It didn't do anything. All right, people are interested in what you're going to do to them. What are you going to do? Put money in their pockets so they can feed their kids? Or what are you going to do to protect them? That's what they worry about. And Trump was full of shit about it, but he gave them something. All right? So, this whole notion of vulgarity and this and that. Have you seen Fox News lately? Have you seen some of the stuff out there? Trump called Nazis basically KKK and all these type of people, called them fine people. Said some of them are fine people. So, pardon me if I just can't sit here and give a damn about a few bad words and some risque jokes. All right, that's part of the deal. All right, that's just. Then you should. I mean, really, these guys should have done their research then, because you don't invite a comedian without doing your research. So they want to go there, and it seems like just some jokes about bombing poor kids around the world. Making jokes probably about Flint poison in the water and stuff like that. Those jokes they would be probably totally cool with, but since she went after some of the powers that be, caused that. On top of that, she took a run at the media and pointed out a very good point that they act like they hate, Trump, and maybe they don't like and they like to act as adversarial, but they propped him up at the beginning, and ultimately, Trump gives them good ratings. So actually, in a way, she made a joke that they love Trump. They're obsessed with him for that reason. So, and that's a very valid point. CNN and Trump both profit from their adversarial relationship. So, it's just ridiculous that, we got all these real problems out there between, families being torn apart and, all these wars, police brutality, criminal justice, climate change, getting people jobs, not being paid enough. We see what's happening with the teachers, not being paid enough, and now they're protesting, and really that can extend to other federal employees too. And other employees in general, people are struggling. And this kind of stuff, some mean jokes. This is that mentality of when they go low, we go high type of thing. And Trump gets it. He goes low and he goes low. He doesn't care what he says. And the way to oppose that is by going low back at him, frankly. And I have a lot of respect for Michelle Obama, and I understand why she said that kind of comment. And in a perfect world, it'd be great for that. It'd be great to talk about civility. I don't want to be uncivil, but you know, civility is only good if you're getting good results, if you're getting good policy, if you're getting things that are helping people. It's just the same way as I ranted about bipartisanship before. Bipartisanship can be a good thing. I'm not anti-bipartisanship, but it should be for a good cause. The cause matters. The policy matters. Are you helping, people? It's the same idea with civility. Civility is fine. I'd rather be civil. My nature is not a fighter. I talk to people. I don't like to yell that much. I don't like to fight. But civility is a secondary thing. You have to look at policy. You have to look at goals. You have to look at the substance. If the substance on the other side is bad, you got to meet them head on. All right? So, not like Trump starting his campaign calling Mexicans rapists, who's, wanted to ban all Muslims from entering the U.S., which would, keep families apart. I've seen it personally firsthand. That a lot of people I know that they can't bring their, grandmothers, grandfathers from other countries, just to visit, for God's sakes, because, grandparents are such a threat. So that's cruel. Not some jokes about, a lying piece of shit press secretary and her piece of shit father, by the way, who loves to tweet really disgusting things. But people think he's hokey because he plays a goddamn instrument. It's like ridiculous. But that's another issue for another day. But and trashing Trump and going after the media because the media was the one broadcasting his fucking empty podium for 7 fucking hours. So just stop. All right? Stop talking about civility in these events. This is meant to be jokes. There's some roasting going on. First of all, grow a goddamn spine. All right? It's just fucking ridiculous. It just really irks me that we have real problems out there, and this is what people are freaking out and wanting apologies for. There was an apology when Trump lobbed missiles into Syria, meanwhile selling arms to Saudi to lob missiles into wedding parties in Yemen. Nobody demands an apology there, And Michelle Wolf said a very important thing in the very end. Said, I want to paraphrase it, but Flint still has lead in its water. They haven't fixed that problem. That's fucking cruel that those people can't get proper water. The infrastructure in this country is cruel. That's cruel. The fact that kids can't have up-to-date books in their classes is cruel. The fact that teachers get to work multiple jobs to feed their family and thus take away from their teaching, that's cruel. And civility is great too, but if you don't have these things, civility really doesn't matter. Hill of beans. So the whole thing just makes my head spin. And tomorrow we'll go back to doing what we're doing. Trump will say what he'll say. Sarah Huckabee Sanders will go to that press room and lie, and they won't challenge her. They might act like they challenge her. They're not going to challenge her. Because then they'll lose their access, and that's what it's all about these days. So I am so fed up with mainstream media. It's almost unwatchable. The fact that you had only really Tucker Carlson, who's a right-wing, bigot with a suit on, is the only guy who's opposing, military action in Syria. What are we doing? The fact that we turned a blind eye while Pompeo becomes Secretary of State, a guy who's a known Islamophobe, a guy who is a known homophobe, a guy who, as our voice in our is a known war hawk and wants to start war with multiple countries. Maybe our priorities are just a little out of order, and that's just not cool. This is ridiculous, and just maybe one day I hope we can clean this shit up, because until we figure out that we don't need to be worried about jokes. We need to be more worried about what's behind those jokes. Because if you listen to it, what is it that Michelle Wolf said that's not true? Come to me and tell me why all that's not true. Because I don't see any of it not true. I live here. I live in the city. I've lived in the countryside. I've seen it all, okay? You can't tell me that stuff isn't true. I've seen brown water coming out of pipes even where I work. Now, eventually they've fixed a lot of those problems, but the fact that it was 2015, 16, 17, this stuff was still there in the United States of America, that should tell you something. All right? Maybe we need to question where we're putting some of our money. Yeah. So the whole thing is ridiculous. It's a non-story. We should be actually, saying to her, thank you for saying this. Just like Colbert called Bush out in '06 or '07. I don't remember the exact year, but he called him out. It started big. You have to be civil. Fuck, it's jokes. What good comedian do you know that has to be civil? All right, it's like the horseshit Bill Cosby used to talk about. Oh, you don't have to swear. And I was like, you do what you have to do to be funny. All right. Now, every other word out of your mouth doesn't have to be fuck. I grant you that. It doesn't need to be over the top. You don't have to be Dennis Miller, whose only way of trying to make a joke was saying the F word. He wasn't even good at that. He wrote a tweet complaining about this, of all people. But vulgarity has its use. A little bit of coarseness of the topic has its use just to get your attention. There's a little satire there. Okay? There's a point to be made. Somebody's got to look through. Instead of getting mad and triggered, right-wingers love to talk about being triggered and safe spaces are bad. Well, these guys need it. Let's see, fucking Matt Schlapp, who's head of the American Conservative Union, millionaire, and again, nothing wrong with millionaires. You can make your money, go get it. Totally respect that. But this guy's whining about I had to get up and leave because they're so offensive and because they're so elitist. Dude, you're fucking elite. All this stuff is ridiculous. We don't seem to know where our priorities are. Just like when you get someone like Trump Trump gets this though, and that's the unfortunate thing. So he takes advantage of it. Does he have a real solution for, crime or safety or anything? No. But he says, I'm going to put a wall up. A wall is a horseshit idea. It does no good. All right? We really want to talk about border security. We can talk about that. But really, you got to go at the root causes. And ultimately, if a society is lacking in education and things of that matter, you're going to have this problem. If you have a wall or not, people will find a way around that wall. So, but he uses it as a decoy, and it's effective because if you hear that and you haven't studied the issue, it sounds like a good idea, Oh, it's harder to get across a wall. So, and the media doesn't understand this. They want to act neutral. They don't want to tell the objective truth because the objective truth isn't always neutral, but they want to just be neutral and they want to be civil. They want to talk about unifying. Sometimes unification is good. Sometimes it's bad. Sometimes civility is good. Sometimes it's bad. Sometimes bipartisanship is. Sometimes bipartisanship is bad. So I'm going to close out here. You can't fall into the trap. You can't think this way. Sometimes you got to go low back at them, but you have to back it up with good policy, with good substance, and you got to things that actually will help people. And I think too much we're getting caught up in this whole vulgarity talk. I say, great. I saw that it was funny and there was a lot of truth in it too. I say it was great. And if you don't want things like that, if you just want, pat me in the ass comedy to make me feel better, go invite Trump. Go bring on, like who he suggested, Greg Gutfield, who's not even a comedian. He's an asshole on Fox. Who I've seen his stuff. He's not really funny. This guy with a punchable face, honestly. Go put him on. You guys can all, rub each other's asses while you're making G-rated jokes, which aren't going to be that G-rated because you're going to say bad stuff about poor people and people you're bombing and all that. But it's okay because those people can't speak up for themselves. Those people don't have a voice, so they can't get offended. So, I'm going to be posting this up soon. I don't want it edited for a reason. It's got to be really raw, and it's really been egging at me today, and I just hope maybe one day we can hear these kind of things and have our priorities in order, which really they're not right now. All right, thanks. We'll see you next time.